And mine still doesn't say live, but we are live. Welcome back to Your List Sucks on Multiplex Entertainment. This is Music Week. We're talking about music. Brooklyn always thinks that I hate music, but no, I wanted to talk about films directly just involving music. Not really musical films, not really ones that have a strong a tie to the musical genre. So I've brought three people on that are really good about music. They claim to be really big fans of music, especially this genre. A few of them reached out to me personally and wanted to be on it. First one is hasn't been on the show before, but I'm a huge fan of him in this trivia community, and I'm excited to hear his opinion on these type of films. First is Jake Marangoni. Jake, how are you doing today?
It's 7:30 in the morning, and the thing that woke me up was listen to music. So it's going to work out well, and I'm just happy to be on. I love these type of music, these movies, and I have some interesting opinions about some of them.
Yeah, I'm really excited. 7:30 Jake might be even funnier than late at night Jake, but we'll find out soon. Next, we got the in the Hall of Fame as the only person to have hosted an episode and been on an episode and did a terrible job at both of them because he turned into a little dictator, and I appreciated everything against Ryan. It's Kaleb the King Koho. Kaleb, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm glad I didn't get this show canceled because I love it so much. I'm glad Cain gave you a mulligan and let me come back as a guest. But I'm excited to be on. Love music. I love music. I watched some for this list, and I'm excited to talk about them.
Yes. And I think, by the way, as I'm looking at this list, as I typed it all in, I think somebody did sneak past the musical on me. So, nope, never mind. We are in the clear for that. But I thought somebody snuck a musical, but it's technically not classified on MDB as a musical. So I get a pass. And the next one, the man, the myth, the legend, the person that makes music relevant in this community, not just about movies. It is the Black Lantern, Brooklyn Vail. Brooklyn, this is a subject that's near and dear to your heart. How do you feel about the music and movies and stuff? And do you think they do a good job of representing it?
I think generally a lot of the time they get it right. I like good biopics. I like just songs or movies about like songwriting in general, and then like even just films that are just passionate about music. I think there's multiple different ways to express that love, and I think that my list shows that it's very. I think there's a good mix of like biopics and other stuff. So.
Yeah, so basically how it's going to work is I have no dog in this race. I have no list. I do not have any say on the final list. This is basically I bring three people that love film, and I bring them in. They give me their top 10 list privately, so the rest of the panel doesn't know what's on their list either. And then we compile a list at the end with all their lists. So basically how the show's going to work is 10 through 8, then 7 through 4, and then 3 through 3, 2 2 2, 1 1 1. Until we get a combined list. We're going to start with Brooklyn. Brooklyn, give us your 10, 9, and 8. And if somebody else has it, just throw up the yikes card and say, you're incorrect. It's up higher on my list.
All right, so I can almost guarantee you that number 10 is not on anybody's list, and that is the one from actually this year. Netflix's The Dirt.
Interesting choice. I have not seen it, so I have nothing to say. But give us your 9 and your 8, and then you can talk about what people don't have.
Yeah, number 9 is Purple Rain.
Yeah, we're really gonna. I want to talk about that.
Okay, so that's a yikes. Somebody just
That's a yikes.
You how low you had it. So give us your 8.
Number 8, I believe, is an MTV Studios film, and that is Drumline.
Are you with Nick Cannon?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oof.
Wow.
Okay. Please tell me why The Dirt and Drumline rank so high in all your movie watching.
So The Dirt, in the short amount of time it's been released, is almost like a guilty pleasure. Like in the first 20 minutes, this could have sucked, but I think it did some good things in it. Where it's like it's not a masterpiece, and that's why it's at number 10. But I think it did some fun things. Machine Gun Kelly is fun as Tommy Lee. The rest of the cast is good. I think they have a nice eclectic balance of characters and whatnot. And I think that's interesting. And they don't make it like a puff piece. They show the struggle. They go through Nikki Sixx's drug addiction and whatnot, and Vince Neil going in a car crash that killed what's his name from the Guns N' Roses. But that's yeah, that's it in a nutshell. That's why I love it, but it's definitely a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, I have no gripes with The Dirt. I haven't seen it personally myself. I've been wanting to just because I like music biopics. And people said it's good. Some people said it's trash, but I haven't been there. Please explain to me why Drumline, the Nick Cannon, probably Oscar nominated in your eyes, made your list. Just because the age thing, because I know it's early 2000.
It's probably an age thing. I caught this like junior high school, but it's one that it's like if it was ever on with a movie network, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll throw it on. Like it's a good movie. It's for me, it boils down to like the competition aspect of it, and Drumline especially is like probably the closest thing to like military aspect of it. It's like it's very precise, and there isn't like oh here snares we're gonna give you like a 16-bar solo to kind of play around with a little bit. It's just it's that like it's almost like a procedural, and I think that's what I like about it. I love Orlando Lee's whatever his name is, the instructor of the band. He was my favorite part of it, and I just think it's that like overall and that general competition aspect is something that I really enjoy about it.
I just real quick, no, it doesn't have to be talking a lot. Jake, and Caleb, did any of these movies consider making your list? I'm just curious.
Purple Rain almost did. That's a yikes.
Drumline, what? I think the big problem with Drumline and The Dirt is that I just haven't seen them. I didn't put them on my list to watch them before I made this list.
It's Orlando Jones.
Orlando Jones, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I think that's one of the first times that he's been brought up as a great performance. I don't know.
I love his character in that movie. It's great.
Okay, so then we were going to go to Jake. We're going to go to Jake. He's going to give us his 10-9-8. So go ahead.
Okay, number 10 is the psychological thriller Grand Piano.
Anybody?
Number 9.
Wow. Good pick.
I was expecting Koho on that just because it's Giselle, but okay. Number 9 is, I feel like this is going to be a yikes, Star is Born, the 2018 remake.
That's a yikes.
Okay.
Yeah, thought so. And my number 8, this also could be a yikes, is Almost Famous.
That is a yikes.
Okay, yeah. So tell us about Grand Piano.
I'm cool with that. So, in case you don't know, Grand Piano, it's written by Damien Chazelle, year before he did Whiplash. So, yeah, very music-centered in that aspect. It's about a pianist who, after embarrassing himself live, he comes back for a comeback performance. And during his performance, there's a sniper who's going to kill him if he makes a wrong note. And so basically, it's a back-and-back forward between the pianist is played by Elijah Wood, and the sniper is played by John Cusack. They're pretty fun, engaging. It's like very Hitchcockian in the setup and the concept. It's well directed. It's crazy with like the camera movements and all that, and the piano playing is like really well done. Like it's not incredibly accurate, but you can kind of see that Elijah Wood definitely was trying to make it look accurate to him playing the piano, and it's just really good tension. And yeah, the music's also great.
I have not seen that personally, but that's actually you really sold me well on the movie. It sounds very interesting. It sounds like something I would actually enjoy, so I may check that one out. Koho, explain why you hate Jamie and Giselle and why he didn't. Why this one didn't make your list.
Don't paint me as a Dave Giselle hater. You know I love the man. But I've never seen this one. I've heard of it. I'm trying to see it. I just didn't get a chance to see it before this list. But yeah, I hear it's great, and it's something that's really interests me. So.
And Brooklyn haven't seen it either.
Haven't seen it.
No. That's fair. Okay, so the other ones we'll talk about later. Koho, take it away with your 10-9-8.
All right, so my number 10 is a small film directed by John Carney called Begin Again. No? Okay, cool.
Okay. What's your 8? What's your 9, I mean?
My 9 might be a yikes. It's the rap biopic Straight Outta Compton.
That is a yikes.
Okay. And my number...
He might be offended. Why? You having it that low.
My number 8 is also a rap biopic in a way. It's 8 Mile.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Okay. let's start with Begin Again, because I think you need to begin with a different list. But let's just tell why Begin Again why you resonate with this film.
Begin Again's like it's a very different film than you're used to seeing. It's the story of Keira Knightley, who's the songwriter, who is dating Adam Levine. They break up. Adam Levine takes her songs and becomes a big pop star with them, and kind of does with them that she wants. But she's also got a great voice. She's really shy about it. She meets Mark Ruffalo, who's a record producer, and his daughter Haley Steinfeld. It's a really stacked cast. Her best friend is James Corden, but it's about her kind of finding her own voice and her own sound, and ends up developing this really great relationship with Mark Ruffalo, who is also struggling in his own personal life, and they kind of end up needing each other's companionship. And there's this really great scene where they go around listening to music together, and it's really beautiful. So yeah, Begin Again is my number 2.
All right, the next one. Please tell me about old B Rabbit.
How do you not? I'm more mad at you guys for not having this. I'm more mad at you guys.
This was on my list to watch for this list, but I did not have a chance to.
Please,
there goes gravity, guys. B Rabbit. It's a really, really fun movie. It's a semi-autobiographical tale of Eminem. For like, it's an embellished, sort of different character names, but it's all based on like real life situations he was in. And like Eminem gives a really like solid performance as B Rabbit. I mean, all he has to do is kind of play himself, but like he does a good job of it. Like he knows himself well enough. He's very like intense throughout the entire movie. And the entire cast around him, Mekhi Phifer, everyone are just like really like. Stop laughing at name drops. But Mekhi Phifer is really good as part of the crew, and like
there's no Mekhi Phifer.
Yep, a young Anthony Mackie being the bad guy of the movie. And the rap battles at the end are really good. Like from a lyrical standpoint, they're really good. Like those burns are great.
Okay. The problem I have with this is I think the problem is, number one, you have this above Straight Outta Compton, which is a little shocking for me.
That's fair.
Because I like Straight Outta Compton, I think, more than 8 Mile.
I would.
8 Mile, I think, is the acting performances are really, really bad in it. I guess if you just hone in on the rapping, I could just buy an Eminem album. I do not need to see him and Brittany Murphy. Like it's just a lot of rough. Like he's got a good complex story. I just don't think they even deep dive big enough into like his mom and him struggles that much in that movie, which I think is the main cause of his problems.
That's fair. I think one last defense for why it's above 8 Miles above Straight Outta Compton. I watched Straight Outta Compton for the list, so I've seen it once. 8 Mile I've seen like 3 times, and it's like one of mine and my friends' like favorites to go back and like watch over and over. So,
they do call you K-Dog, don't they?
My like childhood friends will do it as a joke at this point. That's about it.
Something. I don't know what your rap name is. Honestly, I feel bad not knowing it, but whatever. You may resemble B Rabbit. Okay, 8 Mile and Begin Again, guys. Why not on your list? I'm excited to hear what Jake has to say.
Well, okay. So here's the thing. Those I don't know if I'm allowed to spoil, but those 2 are my honorable mentions.
Oh, okay.
Boom.
Yeah,
sure.
8 Miles 12 and Begin Again's 11. I watched Begin Again for this list, and I very much enjoyed it. So it's really good. It's definitely like interesting with the story that's going for, and I like that they take the music in an interesting direction by because they record the music live outside in New York. I think that's interesting.
I don't think I have any problem with Begin Again. My only problem was the 8 Mile. So that was.
I think 8 Mile's pretty good. Like it's a great character study, and like, I think I like semi-autobiographical like stories like that, and also has the best insult ever, which is you've worked at this plant so long, you're a plant. It's pretty good.
I love that line.
Brooklyn. Your mic's acting up, but hopefully you can fix it while I cover it and send you right into your number.
There we go.
Damn.
I haven't seen
it. Okay, cool. So tell us what your number 7 is, and move forward.
So my number 7 is actually Wayne's World.
Anybody have Wayne's World?
I never thought that would be music.
Never crossed my mind.
Okay.
What about TV, not music?
Okay, he'll describe it and the reason why it ranks on this list. So go ahead, describe
right now.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So I think in terms of like if this is about like favorite movies, this ranks a lot higher, but it's lower because of how they approach music. And I think it's more so because Wayne and Garth, like, they're energetic, they're very Red Box's people, and I think that the way that they outlet that is their love of music. Like it's really about like Wayne falling in love with this band and the band sort of getting to that piece. And I think it's just their appreciation of music is why I love it so much. The songs in it are good. I love their cover of Ballroom Blitz. That is a good one as well. And I think it's just this is a good way to show the passion of music and the passion for anything really. And I just think that's why it's on this list.
Yeah, there's a fantastic scene that changed the way that I ride in cars from this movie. It's honestly something I didn't think about. I think I'm kind of with Kaleb and Jake. I didn't just it didn't pop into my head because I always compile a list. I just never talk about the list.
Yeah.
But I'm just like this one. When you sent it to me, I'm like, okay. I would like to hear you describe that. Just real quick, Kaleb, Jake, Wayne's World. Why not?
I'm letting Kaleb go first.
Okay, then I'll just say I think I'm definitely too young for this movie. It doesn't hit me the same way as everyone does. It doesn't hit me the same way everyone else does, or it does everyone else. I can watch it and kind of enjoy it, but I won't resonate with it the way that Brooklyn does.
That's fair, Jake.
I'd have a lot to talk about Wayne's World if I had actually seen it, and I haven't.
Fair. All right, 6.
All right, so 6 is actually a yikes from earlier, and that's Almost Famous.
Okay, so tell us, Jake and Brooklyn, talk about why you love Almost Famous, why it's where it's on your list, and then I'll ridicule Kaleb in a second for not having it. So go ahead. So
this is actually a movie that I watched for the list. My wife was like, "How the fuck have you not seen Almost Famous?" So we watched it together. I hear a lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, this is a masterpiece." I don't necessarily agree, but I think it's a pretty great film. Kate Hudson up until the last 20 minutes is phenomenal. I find the resurgence in love for Jason Lee. I thought he was great. His whenever they're leaving the bus, he's like, "Oh, don't worry about me, guys. I'm just a lead fucking singer." Is probably my favorite quote in the whole movie. And yeah, I think once again, it's finding that passion for music, not so much in performing, but in terms of songwriting and getting on the Rolling Stones is pretty well the written equivalent of getting on. They're playing in Madison Square Garden, but I'll let Jake elaborate.
Yeah, Jake.
Yeah, I rewatched this actually last night because I already had it on the list because I knew it was going to be here, but I was like, well, I haven't seen it in a while, and I kind of just want to see it again. It's this great epic tale of American rock. It's one thing that I'm not exactly familiar with, but they go a lot into detail as to why these bands do it and why they enjoy it and how they feel in the road. And you get this great perspective from the writer. He's the writer.
Yeah, he's the writer.
Patrick Figo, who gives a really, really good performance as this. He has this great wide-eyed optimism, seeing Stillwater, and it's his chemistry with Lee Crudup, who's the main singer, and Kate Hudson as Penny Lane. Everyone gives a great performance. Even small roles like Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon's in it.
I actually disagree with that. He's probably my least favorite part of the movie, and I love Jimmy Fallon.
I don't like him in real life, which is why I like him in this film, is because they all they're playing characters, and I think they all really do a good job. Even Jason Lee, who I'm not a big fan of, but yeah, there's a lot to like. His relationship with his family. It's just it's exactly what it feels like what Cameron Crowe did, because he won the original screenplay Oscar for the film, and the whole Tiny Dancer bus scene and the airplane scene is incredible. Crash, it's amazing. It's still my favorite scene.
Although I would love to see the alternate universe edition of this film, when he actually goes to interview Black Sabbath as opposed to Stillwater.
That would have been interesting.
I love this movie. I agree with it being on the list. I think it's almost the right placement for Brooklyn or Jake. I don't think it's as high for some people. Some people hold it in the highest regards. I still like the movie. I love the Tiny Dancer scene. I think it's brilliant, just to show the simplicity of music. Just all, if you got a band together and just listen to that song resonated with all of them, and you saw that. I thought the characters were really good in it. Kaleb, why do you hate good movies?
I've never seen Almost Famous. That's the simple.
Oh my god, you're confident.
I was going into this list of like I'm gonna like there's gonna be like a million movies that they put on here.
Yeah,
Like, I haven't seen any of them.
Not Almost Famous, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Almost Famous.
Yeah. You made up for it.
Next one, Brooklyn.
So my next one is another biopic, one that I attached to. I think it's just good more so because of my love for him at an early age, and that is Walk the Line, the biopic of Johnny Cash.
Anybody have Walk the Line? Nope. All right, just you.
I think this is. I love this film so much because they don't take his highs and lows to an extremity. I think it's a very realistic approach. I think Joaquin Phoenix is almost a spot on casting for Johnny Cash. Reese Witherspoon as June Carter, although she did get the Oscar, I'm like, there's probably like a handful of people that you could throw in there, and they probably do the same thing. But I love how it's very bare bones and almost minimalistic, and they don't, like I mentioned earlier, like whenever he's going through like his drug problems, they don't try to like highlight that and focus attention on him. It's just it's a moment. If it's a moment in his career, it's a chapter in his career, and it's one you have to sort of like endure and struggle and get through to get to that eventual Man in Black phase when he does play at Folsom Prison. And I think the performances in it are great for actors who are predominantly not known as musicians. They do good work. Jackson was a good rendition, and whenever he's like in the recording studio doing Folsom Prison, I think that's good for just literally just him singing by himself.
Yeah, I think this biopic is one of those that if you like or resonate with the music, I think a lot of people love it. Like, I'm a huge Johnny Cash fan, so this movie ranks higher than me than some people. I've always talked to some people, and some people are like, no, thank you. This movie's trash. Like, I don't like it. But they also don't like Johnny Cash. That's also like, I think you have to have an appreciation for his music a little bit. I think Joaquin Phoenix does a really good job on it. I think it's quite funny at times, but also quite heartbreaking too. Of the story of what Johnny Cash went through. Again, I like to just not they didn't over dramatize it. Like, this is what happened to him, and they didn't. Some biopics like tuck away the bad things behind closed doors, and they move on to the positive things. Like, I think Ray sometimes a little bit of Ray does that when Ray Charles has a lot of baggage, but they kind of brush over the top of it instead of like going at it. And I think that's what it does. Jake, Caleb, Walk the Line.
I haven't seen Walk the Line since 2006 when my mom was watching the DVD, and I remember like, kind of paying attention to it. I mean, I was still 8, so I didn't understand the brevity of who Johnny Cash is, but I thought, it's kind of fun. And then I never saw it ever again.
That's fair.
I wanted to limit the amount of biopics that I did with my list, so I kept it to like my top 3-4 favorite that I go back to a lot, and I just don't go back to Walk the Line that often.
He's about to take flight, guys. About to take flight. I still Walk the Line still is one of my favorite lines. Is they told him not to eat the apple, not look at the apple, don't even freaking talk about the apple. We're all going to hell. That's just what's happening. It's fantastic. I think the line's great in it. Give us your number 4.
All right, so my number 4 might actually catch people off guard, and it is the lone animated film on my list, and that is Coco.
Yikes! That's a yikes.
Incorrect.
That's a yikes. Not a yikes. That's not an.
You're
how do we
exactly
fix
the
this?
same location.
Okay. He said 4. Okay, then yeah, we both have this at 4, Brooklyn.
All right. So yeah, I think Coco is probably the best example on this list of using music as a coping mechanism, considering the theme in general of Coco is trying to cope with death. And I think music is the best way to do it. I'm always a firm believer in that music is the best drug imaginable. It conveys so many emotions depending on how you play it and like the speed and the key. Sorry, I don't want to bring up key. Cody gets a little mad whenever I say the word key. But yeah, I think it does really well. And going with the kids theme of like, oh, I want to become like Ernesto de la Cruz, and then it's like, oh, he's a dick. It's like, well, it's not about being famous. It's about the music and about how you convey emotion through your music, and I think that's why it ranks so high for me.
So before Caleb goes, yes, there is a question: is Coco a musical? Is Coco not? I think it's more presented as like a stage presentation, which I have a huge argument with people that is something the musical or is it not. I think burst out into song is what I classify into it to move stories along. These are more stage performances through Coco, so that's why I allowed it. Again, comments you can tell me, but guess what? Your list sucks anyways. Kaleb, tell me about Coco.
Coco's easily the most emotional movie on my top 10. It plays it like with just dealing with the theme of death alone in a movie is a tough topic to cover. And then, like Brooklyn said, using music to cope with that is like brilliant. I think the trope of meeting your heroes and the theme of that is done really well through Ernesto de la Cruz, and how judging someone by their cover by looking at Hector at the beginning of the movie and then where he is at the end of the movie, and you realize, slowly who he becomes. Hector's development and arc in this was one of my favorites. And I think the music, while I know there are people who call it forgettable, I think it's some of the most beautiful music in animation this decade. Just beautiful animation and then beautiful music within the animated movie realm. Remember Me, sure, but I'm talking like Un Poco Loco, The World Is Mi Familia. I think the songs are touching and are just as important to the film as the actual script.
Yeah, I like Coco a lot. I watched it last night, actually. Why Multiplex chat was completely quiet. I was just like, I have nothing else to do. I'm just going to watch Coco. And I really enjoyed it a lot. And I kind of watched it for clarification to see, like, do I classify it as a musical? And I got the vibe that it does have music in it. It does have original music in it, but I do not classify it solely as a musical. Jake, what's your thoughts?
I would have a lot of thoughts if I had seen Coco, because it did not pique my interest. And yeah, I thought it was a musical, so yeah, that's
it's more of a stage. That's why like a lot of people were calling Bo Rap when it came out a musical, and I was just like, it's more like
not a musical.
Yeah, like I'm confused by what some people classify and what they think. Just because it has songs doesn't make it a musical. But we're back to Jake now. We're going to talk with your 7. So tell us about your 7.
Okay, so I know for a fact both of you don't have this film on your list. It's I think it's a Sweden film. It is called Sound of Noise from 2010. I'm waiting for the yikes. Okay, so it's about a tone deaf cop who is trying to stop these 4 musicians who are drummers who are basically terrorizing this small town by making music out of just everyday objects. It's like a heist film without them stealing anything. They go into it. They perform a heist at a bank, and instead of stealing the money, they start shredding the music to make a beat out of it, and they start just making music. And every time the tone deaf cop gets to the place that they've been to already, he can't hear any of the sounds that anything at the place makes. So he's smashing chairs, and they're not making any noise because he's tone deaf. I guess that's how it works. And so I have this over Almost Famous for its use of music. It's like very inventive and interesting in the way it uses it. The way it's able to, it's like almost like hand boning in the way that it's just like everyday objects, and they're all drummers, so it's a really great beat. Like, it's just really engaging and interesting to watch. It's kind of like Whiplash in that sense. Like the energy from just the music alone really like sells the entire film. And it's also just you also relate to the cop because his whole family are musicians, and except him because he's tone deaf, and everyone and his family kind of like sees him as the black sheep. So you kind of really feel for him. You want him to succeed, but you really like the drummers and the musicians because they're just making music out of anything. So it's just a really fun film to watch, and if you have 90 minutes to spare, it's just a fun film. I really enjoy it. I think it's great.
Yeah. So what this list sometimes does is bring out movies that I haven't seen before, so I can't really say much about it, but it makes me want to go see that because that's actually a really good concept. So I think that's cool. I'm going to save the time of going to Brooklyn and Koho and say, why did you make your list? Because they're the same with me and they haven't seen it. So we'll go to your next one.
This may be a yikes, knowing Koho on this panel. My number 6 is Coen Brothers 2013 Inside Llewyn Davis.
Dude, that just missed my list because of what I watched.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not upset because I get to talk about it. But
Did not make your list, and did it make your list, Brooklyn?
No, did not make that list.
Okay, so tell us about it.
So yeah, it's a topic. It's a genre of music I'm not a fan of, country, and I think what the Coen brothers always do great is they're very versatile with like what their filmography is, because it feels like they never make the same film twice, and it's really like one to talk about this one. It's a kind of similar in Oh Brother Where Art Thou style, but it's also this one. It focuses on the musician and like, the struggle between art and commercialism. Like the whole "Please, Mr. Kennedy" song that plays in the movie. It's like it's catchy, but is it really saying anything interesting compared to when he sings "Fare Thee Well" or any of the other songs like "Hang Me"? So it's a really like fascinating character study. Oscar Isaac is absolutely brilliant as Llewyn Davis, and it's just like this it's just like a span of like a week and just him trying to get money, him to make a living, and no matter what he does, he just ends up in the same place he was at the beginning of them. Not to spoil what happens at the ending, but yeah, so it's really like fun. It's a star-studded cast. Like there's so many hit roles that fit for everyone who's in the movie. Garrett Hedlund's actually okay in the movie, so that's a good thing. John Goodman, F. Murray Abraham, like, everyone's really good. It's such a really distinct style, and it really captures the 1960s folk country. Kind of similar to how Almost Famous captures American rock in the 70s. And yeah, it's a good movie about Bob Dylan. Really fun, really amazing, and has a lot to tell about the artist.
Yeah, that's a really good choice. I'm really surprised not more people had it on their list. Like when I set these topics, I go out and try to seek and watch movies that I haven't seen. I saw this one and I really enjoyed it. I'm going to say Brooklyn because I think Brooklyn hasn't seen it. Is that correct?
This was on my list to watch, and I just didn't get a chance to it. But the way Jake sold it, sounds like a movie that I need to see because 60s folk is a big genre for me. Like you got Simon and Garfunkel, you got Joni Mitchell, one of the greatest female vocalists ever. And I think if I love that genre, then it sounds like I would love this movie.
No music talk besides movie talk. Here we go. Koho, why do you hate the Coen brothers? Please tell me.
This was literally my number 10 so long, and then I watched Straight Outta Compton and it bumped it off the list. But I love the music of this movie so much. I actually own the I love the folk music that they do, and Oscar Isaac is so great in this movie. Justin Timberlake is really funny in his small part. And Adam is like in this for like half a minute, but he's so great. But like you're just like you said, it's Oh Brother Where Art Thou with like music and that kind of style of like jumping around and following this one guy on his journey to try and make it in solo, and his album Inside You and Davis is just great. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. So tell us your next one, Jake.
I would be shocked if neither of you have this on your list because this is just one of the best. It's the Best Picture winner from '84, Amadeus.
No one has it, and this is insult.
No.
So I will. Before I let Jake talk, this is a movie that I was forced to watch for a debate that never ended up happening, and it's the greatest time that I've ever had a question formed that I was happy that it didn't go through, because I was going to lose miserably because this movie is brilliant. This movie is 3 hours, but it feels like 90 minutes. It flies by. It's so good. It's something that I'm not a fan of, like classical music, and like throws it on its head. I think it's brilliant. I think the character work is amazing. I'll let Jake talk about it, but shame on both of you for not having this on there because it's brilliant.
Yeah, so it's not a biopic. It's based on a play. It's a stage play by the guy who wrote the film, and it's this fictional telling of like the rivalry between Antonio Salieri and Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Not to sound pretentious, but I like classical music. I listen to it every now and then. It's interesting to listen to, and I think what's amazing about it is that you really like capture the essence of what. Even though it's fictional, it feels like Mozart just had this eccentric qualities about himself, like his laugh, the way he moved, the way he didn't take anything seriously. But he also it's just like telling of like the rivalry between him and Salieri, played by F. Murray Abraham, who won the Oscar for Best Actor, who's just absolutely brilliant. Like he has this reserved anger towards Moser, and you can tell in certain scenes when he's just like pissed off, but he's never expressively showing it. And Tom Hulce as Moser is just so like, yeah, he just carries. He's like kind of the glue that holds the whole film, because it's called Amadeus, and even though it's partially about him, he's just like it's I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like he's the center point of the film, but he's not the main guy. If that probably doesn't make any sense. But yeah, the music's really, really interesting to listen to. The details, like with the sets, everything looks amazing. It's 3 hours long. It's this epic tale of rivalry and friendship and music and madness, and it's all really done really, really well. And yeah, it's just like one that I hadn't seen before watching this for the list, and I knew I had to see it. So I watched it, and yeah, it absolutely blew me away. It is amazing.
All right. Please tell me, Brooklyn and Caleb, why you were uncultured swine.
Don't like music.
So, a little behind the scenes. We're recording this on a Thursday. We were going to record this yesterday, and I was like, "No, guys, give me time so I can watch this movie." I was going to watch Amadeus, and then I got stuck in the city, and I was like, "Damn, I got to leave the dirt on here now." So, yeah.
All right.
Fair excuse.
Go ahead, Koho.
My ex got me really into classical music. I never listened to it really before. I'd like learned it for school or whatever, but like she gave me like a total appreciation for it, and I really loved it. And she showed me Amadeus, and that's one of the movies. Like after I saw it, I absolutely adored it. It didn't even cross my mind because it didn't register in my brain as a music movie, and I don't know why I forgot about it. But I'm pissed off at myself. I really want to take 8 Mile off and put Amadeus on.
What truer words have ever been spoken that V-Rabbit should be moved off for Amadeus? But that's fine.
Amadeus.
So, okay. No, we have one more for Jake. Well, Jake, yeah, give me your 4.
So this is my most questionable choice as far as it being centered around music. It's one of my favorite films of 2017. It is Baby Driver.
Damn it!
Okay.
Yeah, I had a feeling. Was it going to be a yikes? Oh, they're upset because they didn't.
So the question is, does it qualify? And I say yes, for the simple fact is the music was put in place before the action of the screen. They pretty much planned out the editing and everything to the
action
music.
Sequences with the music.
To the music. So
Yes.
on that alone, this movie is so influenced by music that I am fully allowed to put that on the list. No one came with me the question. You're the only one that put it on there, and I had no problems with it. Jake, go ahead and explain why you want Baby Driver.
Music fuels the movie. Like it's kind of the same way Guardians of the Galaxy. You can consider that music around music because based on like the emotional connection the main character has with the playlist. This is his. It's pretty much like similar to that. I love the music. Like it's one of my favorite like movie soundtracks. That's just like of songs, pre-existing songs. I really love Bell Bottoms, Neat Neat Neat, Hocus Pocus, Egyptian Reggae, Never Gonna Give You Up. Like there's just so many great songs. Brighton Rock is like one of the best songs to put in the finale of your film. The action sequence, everything about the movie is like channeled through the music. So it really fits that energetic style. Like there's never a slow moment. It's just constantly moving like the music that's playing throughout the movie. And yeah, everything about the movie is amazing. And I just love the fact that he's a musician. Like, he's making his own like music. He's sampling audio and dialogue and making music out of it. Like I just think that's amazing and clever. And it's also just a celebration of like music and like him finding the song called Deborah by T-Rex and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's cool. And yeah, Baby Driver's like awesome. Top 3.
Baby Driver is amazing. It was one of my favorite movies of 2017 as well. Brooklyn, why no Baby Driver?
So this was actually in my honorable mentions. When making this list, I wanted to make it more so about. I wanted the movie to be like about either a music biopic or something about the process of music. I'm gonna steal a line from Cody where in this movie, absolutely the music is a character. So I had this along with like Guardians of the Galaxy and Dazed and Confused in my honorable mentions and like the sub tier of like movies where music is like a character. And I think in those films, it's more so an appreciation of the soundtrack as opposed to like the movie itself. Baby Driver is a phenomenal film, I don't know. I don't attach with like it being like a music film. It's a good heist film. It's a good heist film with an incredible soundtrack, and just the way that they intertwine it is good.
Koho, why do you hate good movies?
Jake's list is brilliant, and he's a genius for asking. I should have asked. I thought this didn't count.
He didn't ask. He just put it on.
He just did it.
I just put it on.
I should have just put it on my list. This would have been my number 3. It's my favorite movie of 2017. Period. It's in my top 15 movies of all time. This would have been number 3 on my list with a bullet. Baby Driver is the best edited film of all time, in my opinion. I think it's a masterclass in just like how to make a film fun. And it's just every possible thing that they can do to keep you engaged all the way through, to care about the characters, to make the movie interesting to watch, through the action, to the car chases, and the soundtrack is the driving force of the film. I should have put it on. I'm so mad. John Spencer, Blues Experiment, Bell Bottoms is my killer track. And Simon Garfunkel, Baby Driver. Great song.
Sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission, pretty much. You just have to put it on there. I will be the one to tell you no. Just like if you would have put Rocket Man on there, I would have told you no.
That's amazing.
That's what I did.
I absolutely love that movie. Okay, so Kaleb, apparently you had nothing in common with Jake so far except one, so tell us what your next one is.
All right, so my number 7 is Bohemian Rhapsody. Bohemian Rhapsody is so rewatchable. It is so fun. I know people give this movie so much shit for being a surface level movie that doesn't delve into the sex, drugs, and rock and roll of Queen, and that they glorify the other members of Queen and make Freddie look like an asshole. Like, take what you will from the movie. The movie is fun. It's enjoyable. It's a run-of-the-mill biopic, but with a really great cast and with Queen music. What more can you ask? The movie is just it's so fun to watch Rami bring Freddie back to life. He deserved that Oscar, and I know people are like, oh, he wasn't even singing, whatever. I mean, he did provide vocals, but they mixed it with old stuff and Mark Martel, and it's a weird gray area as to how they made the music work and the singing. But I think the movie overall is just a really fun one that I will go back to over and over and over.
So when I got out of this movie, I liked it a lot. I thought it was good. I know there was a lot of gripe, but the more people hated in a certain chat, the more and more I loved this movie, and the more and more I just had to love it more, because the hate that people were giving it was insane. Zach Ford, Jake, Paul, there were so many people that hated on this movie, and that's completely justified. The only reason why I like this movie is for the simple fact that I like Queen music. Queen music was right in the forefront. I understand. Regardless of what you say, Freddie was a huge diva. He was 100%. You can listen to most of any of his interviews. He literally berated people, and it was brilliant. But I understand why a lot of people have gripes with it. It's fine on your list. For me, I like it enough. I just, I think like Amadeus and maybe Baby Driver deserve those spots. But go ahead. Brooklyn first, because I know how Jake feels, but Brooklyn.
Haven't seen it. I'm sure I'd love it, but yeah.
Jake.
I have no idea why you have Bohemian Rhapsody. It's fucking terrible. Like, really bad filmmaking just all around. Like, I understand, okay, we can separate the art from the artist, we don't need to get into that, but the editing is fucking terrible.
Won an Oscar.
Every time there's a scene with the Queen, it won a fucking Oscar, so did Suicide Squad.
It's good. It's good editing.
No, it's not! Okay, so the editing in Bohemian Rhapsody, every time there's a scene with Queen, you have to cut to the other members of Queen, even when they're not doing anything, you just go, yeah, I agree with Freddie Mercury. Okay, it's fucking stupid. It's one of those producer things where it's like, we're going to have the other Queen members. We did other stuff. It wasn't just Freddie Mercury. That was the whole reason why the film was made, why it was a PG-rated version of the movies, because the Queen band who was still alive were like, well, Freddie Mercury's good and all, but what about it's about the band, it's about Queen. We did a lot of great stuff. It's like, what the hell? No one gives a shit. When everyone thinks of Queen, they think of fucking Freddie Mercury. He's the best thing about the movie. They're on Rami Malek. I think he's amazing in the film. That's the only thing I like. I mean, you have to have Mike Myers as the fucking red manager guy who's like, Bohemian Rhapsody's never going to be played, it's never going to be played, and all that sort of shit. It's like, wink winky. It's terrible. It's pretty much the same plot beats as Straight Outta Compton with the manipulative manager who throws the main singer out of the band and then realizes that he fucked up and then he has AIDS at the end, and it's terrible. Not
Okay.
that good.
Okay,
also-
but
He's not
I hate
wrong.
that.
Hold
I
on,
hate that
no,
argument.
No.
I hate that argument.
No. Basically what it is I think it's funny that you say Suicide's won the Oscar. Well, their makeup was pretty good. But
No one's gonna stuff it beyond.
the editing was still the factor on that, and they ended up winning it, which I think is funny because you guys all absolutely hated it.
That's what happens when you get someone who composes music to edit your film.
I think there's also an issue. I think there's also an issue that people have is like it's the biopic tropes. But if somebody's a bad manager, somebody's a bad manager, and I think that can be shown in your film. I think, but it's the same thing with like how Rocket Man came out this year, and everybody said, well, it has biopic tropes. Yeah, a lot of managers in the music industry suck, and they play a big role in a lot of stars' lives, and you have to touch on that. But I understand if you think it's like too much. But we'll move on to the next one.
I had more, but okay.
Give us you're done. Give us your next one.
My number 6 is a Yikes from earlier. That's 2018's A Star Is Born. Super emotional film. I had never seen any version of A Star Is Born when I went into this. So I went in not really knowing the story. I was blown away by Cooper and Gaga. I think they play off each other great. I think Gaga's voice is phenomenal, and like we knew that going in that she was going to be a great singer, but I think she delivered a really good performance, like acting wise as well. I think she deserved the nomination for what she did, especially at the end when she has to deal with Cooper at the very end of the movie, which I didn't see coming. And that killed me. It's one of the few times last year where I cried in the theater because I didn't see anything like that coming. Cooper, I think, deserved more buzz that he should have been nominated at least for Best Director. I think that's a travesty because it's a very well directed and well made movie for someone who has never done that really before on that level. So yeah. I think this is a really good movie, and I will go back to it over and over. Soundtrack's great. So,
Jake.
Yeah. Well, I had it at my my number 9. I love this movie. I think it's really, really well done. Yeah, I think one thing that makes me want to put these type of movies on this list is if I enjoy the music. I really enjoyed the music for A Star Is Born. I think the first song in the movie, Black Eyes, is like the best song. That's just personal opinion, but Shallow is like the centerpiece of the movie, even though it's like 30 minutes into the movie. But it's also a really good tale. It's like we've heard this story before. It's rising singer, fading singer, and how they kind of swap places, and how she becomes the big singer. And I really like the relationship between Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. I just love that she's a singer who's learning how to act, and he's an actor learning how to sing. So there's a cool parallel there, and it's well shot. I don't think the directing is like spectacular. I think some of the cinematography is like really, really well done. Matthew Libatique and the lighting of like certain concerts are just done really, really well. It's just, I think also it's got a story to tell. Like, I really like character studies, and I think Jackson Maine's a really, really interesting character. Like, he's an alcoholic, and he has problems with his family and his older brother, and he's starting to get tinnitus, and he's drinking and taking pills, and we've seen this story before, but it's Bradley Cooper brings something interesting into like the modern world with like what he's talking about, and it feels kind of realistic in like its presentation. Like, she'll just appear on SNL, and I think it's really interesting. I like it.
Yeah, this is one of those movies that I think movie experience changes it, because when I first watched it, I had a very bad viewing. I hated it just because of just the frustration that was happening inside the theater. And then when I rewatched it, the movie broke me. It's just, I think it's brilliant. I think Shallow is in the concept of the movie, which somebody on the panel will strongly disagree with me. On the movie side, it is brilliant. It's, even though it's 30 minutes, this movie brings Andrew Dice Clay and makes him a prominent acting role in it, and does a great job for what he's given. Again, I don't think Cooper should have won the Oscar for directing. I think it's fine. I think it's a good job. But I think the movie is really, really good. Brooklyn, why did A Star Is Born miss your list?
Did not see it. But if it's anything like that Oscar-winning song, it's probably incredibly overrated and incredibly overplayed.
What? Anything like that? That was great.
No. If we don't have enough time for me to go on the rant and why I think that is the most overrated song ever.
You can't say it's overrated.
I don't have time. Just it's better for your show if we move on.
No, but you've never seen it, so you can't say the song does not.
As a song, it is incredibly overrated.
Well,
I'm not saying
you
I'm
understand the musical notes. Okay, that's cool. Inside of a film, you would complain that it won the Oscar for a film song. That's interesting. Your next one.
My number 5 is one that I guarantee is not on anyone's list. This is very much my age group. Pitch Perfect. Pitch Perfect is so fun.
I considered.
Pitch Perfect is super fun. And Anna Kendrick is really good in this movie. I think also Ben Platt is in this movie, and he gives a really good supporting performance. I love the whole world of Pitch Perfect. Like the really weird, wacky, awkward, off-kilter world of competitive collegiate acapella is so funny that it makes it, like, the concept of this film is so stupid that it shouldn't work. But the way that it's executed through the prism of this like coming-of-age college film about connecting with friends, finding your wolf pack for the first time sort of thing, and doing it through music is really great. I think the sequels are atrocious, but I think this first film is incredibly underrated. I think it doesn't get enough credit as it should. It's really enjoyable. I'll go back to it over and over and over again.
I think this movie is funny, and I think the music's fine, but it's not top 10 by any means. It's I think it's more comedy over music. I think it's definitely that niche teen comedy that's out there, and I think that hits with different people. If anything, this movie is hurt a lot by its sequels. If anything, it just gets worse and worse as it goes, so these characters carry over. I can understand some people liking it, especially your age group. I get that, but like, I wouldn't have put it even close. The reason why you don't have Baby Driver get on there and Amadeus and you have Pitch Perfect is a little funny, but you may have forgotten about those. Jake.
I did forget about those.
So I watched this for the first time sometime in Feb. A girl made me watch this, and she was like, watch it. It's on Netflix. I was like, okay, I don't really want to, but we watched it. And one word I would use to describe the film is annoying. Every character is annoying. The setup is annoying. I don't care for pretty much any of the characters. The Asian one that you couldn't hear, why is she even on the group? There's just so many weird character moments where it's like, I'm thinking about the realism of the movie because it takes place in reality. And I'm like, why is this even happening? Why is this a psychopathic head a cappella person being like a crazy bitch? Like, there's just so many things that just make me want to like kill myself because it's just...
Wow.
I was so annoyed by everything in Pitch Perfect. Like, it wasn't fun to watch. I mean, some of the music's like cool, like the way they do the acapella, I guess. But I mean, I don't like Adam Levine. What's the guy's name?
Adam Devine, I think. Devine.
Well, he should go to hell. He's fucking terrible. Obnoxious, annoying. I got my revenge on the girl by making her watch Run Lola Run, so I win in the end, and not that good. Pitch Perfect is worse, but it's okay. Didn't like Pitch Perfect. Oh no, we have to get new people. Oh, these people are weird. Oh, I wonder if they're gonna win the acapella thing. Oh, they did.
Anybody else thinking that Jake might hate it because it's a group full of women? Anyway,
I do. Hashtag Team Me Too is back, guys.
Brooklyn, on that, what is your thought on Pitch Perfect? That was fantastic, Jake. I couldn't have said it any more harsh than you.
I actually considered Pitch Perfect 2 to be on this top 10.
You're a bad person.
I actually enjoyed Pitch Perfect 2.
Excuse me?
Excuse me?
But if Fish River 2 was to be on this list, it'd be purely for Elizabeth Banks and the other guy for being essentially the live action version of Tom Tucker and Diane Simmons from Family Guy. Just their characters are fucking hilarious, and they are the highlights of the movies for me. But yeah, that's why I didn't make it.
Those two are
Wow,
great. The first one to be second.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Jake. I've never heard somebody well, he can go to hell. That's fantastic. I could just imagine a film that you honestly really hate. It's great. Okay, your next. We've already talked about your next one.
My next one was Coco, so we're good.
So we're now on to 3. So Brooklyn, take it away with your 3. It was a yikes from earlier. So
it was a yikes from earlier. It is the NWA biopic Straight Outta Compton.
Hell yeah, rock and roll.
Yep. I will fully acknowledge that they do brush over the rough stuff. Dr. Dre did definitely do some assaults, did some bad things, but I think they capture just the anger and that raw sort of motion that they pack in through their music. I think O'Shea Jackson Jr. was great playing his dad. I can't remember the other actors' names, but like the guy who played Dr. Dre was phenomenal.
Corey Hawkins plays Dr.
Yeah.
Dre.
Again, this is why I'm awful at movie trivia because I don't remember actor names. But yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think how they go about, like Jake sort of mentioned it earlier with with how it's like, oh, the manager's corrupt. Paul Giamatti, he was cool, and it's like, all right, well now Ice Cube's gonna leave. Eazy's gonna try and lead the group, but then he's gonna leave as well. It just becomes this after this. I would personally love to see like a sequel-ish sort of spinoff where Dr. Dre goes on with Aftermath and sort of goes on with Eminem, because I personally enjoy that. I think Dr. Dre is one of the greatest rappers and producers ever. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I think just to sort of boil it down, it shows the corruption through Compton, and how they take all that anger and that emotion and then they put it to some of the greatest rap ever.
Yeah, I agree. I like Straight Outta Compton as much as it did. I don't know. I'm not as high on it as much. As more rewatches I've watched it, it drops a little bit for me. It loses a lot because there's a lot of stuff they could touch on. I think the Suge Knight versus Eazy thing, I wish that was a little bit more amped because it happens out of the blue and kind of happens, but that beef happens a lot in the music within the music of those groups. Go ahead, Caleb. Tell us why you had Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah, no, the cast is great. O'Shea Jackson Jr., Corey Hawkins, Jason Mitchell is really underrated as Eazy-E, and Paul Giamatti is phenomenal in this movie. But I love the story that they did because the first time I watched it for this movie, I'm about an hour in and the band breaks up, and I'm like, what's the rest of this movie? I was like, what's the rest of this movie? And the story afterwards is more interesting than the time that they are up. Like the messages of their music when they go to Detroit and the police stand there and they're like, these are the rules, and then they basically are just like, play F the police anyway, is one of the best scenes of that movie. I love it so much. But the scenes after, going forward, the struggle of Eazy-E trying to keep his band together, of Ice Cube going off and doing his own thing, of Dr. Dre seeing the world around him, like in the music industry, become more and more violent, where Suge Knight's doing dog fights in the other room while he's got Tupac in one room working on music. And the scene where he comes out and he's like, what are we doing? If we wanted to do this, we could have stayed in Compton. That big speech that he gives is amazing. And it's a really raw movie. And on more rewatches, it might move higher, but I love it for what I saw.
All right, we got Jake. Give us your 3.
Oh wait, can I talk about?
Oh yeah, you can talk about Straight Outta
Sorry,
Compton. Sorry, that's
yeah. I saw it the day before the 2015 Oscars because I wanted to see it because it was nominated for original screenplay. My brother wanted to watch it, so we both watched it, and he's more the rap guy. I don't really care much about rap music. I like some stuff, but I'm like not really big into that stuff. But that may be a reason why I'm just not big into Straight Outta Compton. I didn't honestly know anything about the story of NWA and how it all happened, and so I was kind of curious myself. So it was interesting, that part of the story. But I was just really not interested. I hate stories where it's the manager. Like, we see this so many times in biopics. The rising star and then the manager who corrupts him in the band. Like, it's the exact same story as Bohemian Rhapsody. that's part of why I don't like that film. And it's like some of the music's cool, but I mean, I just really don't care. It's not my cup of tea. It's not my type of film to watch. But it's personal, like subjective thing. But I mean, some of it's cool, but I just not that big into it.
So Jake, tell us what your number 3 is.
This one I'll actually be upset if no one has this on this list. I think it's obvious. It's Whiplash.
Yikes!
There we go.
Yeah. Well, top 3. I'm pretty happy with that, guys.
Yes. It's actually a very interesting order, and I will explain that later. But let's go to Brooklyn for your 2. Or your 2.
For my 2. So I'm hoping that this is on people's list, but from the sound of it, I don't think it is. We are going to the Richard Linklater classic, School of Rock.
Just missed my list.
I considered it, but I was like,
yeah.
No,
What? Really?
School of
Yeah.
Rock.
I considered it.
Okay,
that high though. Wow.
This could also be for like whenever I. So sorry. This could probably be from like whenever I watched it, like in that age frame, because I was probably like the same age as the kids growing up. But for me, it's like, oh, these kids don't know anything about rock, and it's like Jack Black's going on about, oh, okay, we need to now explore rock and all the various artists that there are. And I think it's just his passion, similar to Wayne's World, is why I love it so much. And I think it's just it's a great coming of age film. And it's like, oh, well, if here's a genre that you need to explore and all the different sort of like avenues of it and like how you can express yourself. And it's a very sort of like stereotypical, like, don't conform to the squares, man. Like sort of that kind of deal. But yeah.
You're tacky and I hate you. Okay, no, this is fantastic. I don't know if it's quite like top 3, but I can understand, especially somebody as me and you is close in age. I love this movie growing up. I think it's Schneebly. I think the comedic elements in this movie. I don't think Jack Black has ever been funnier than in this movie. What does it mean to have a hangover? What does that mean, class? You're an alcoholic. Like, no, it means I was drunk yesterday. But like, it's so funny. Like those little comments, like back and forth, be like, he's not a teacher. He's walking through the halls. He's like, when's lunch? You just got here. Like,
those who can't do teach, and those who teach gym.
It's got so many things. I think like the kid acting in this is like really good. Like I love when he goes through all the classics and like, what do you guys listen to? You ever break out the lead? And like it's just like Puff Daddy. Oh God, what are they teaching you? It's just so many. I think the song elements in this, like the songs that they make, is really good. I mean, it actually formed a musical on Broadway from this movie, so I think that's kind of neat from it. I think for you, that's a perfect pick for your list because that's the number one thing I thought. This is one of the 2 movies that I knew you'd have on your list. It's this one and the other one. So, fantastic choices. Jake and Kaleb, I don't think it's, like I said, I don't think it's top 3, but I like the choice. But Kaleb, what do you think? Why don't you have School of Rock?
It was on my list for a while. It bounced around 8, 9, 10 for a while. I watched a couple of movies for it, started to move down, and then eventually it fell off. It's a great movie. I think it's hilarious. Jack Black is really good in it. It's probably number 11 or 12. Like, it just missed the list. So
that's fair. And Jake?
Echo Koho. It was on the list. I considered it, but there were just other films that I liked more. And I think School of Rock's a great film to watch as a kid. Because it's a fun film. You can relate to all the characters, and it's kind of crazy that Linklater was making that when he was like just at the beginning of making Boyhood. Like he was still making films during Boyhood, which I think is just crazy. Everyone's great. I love the song at the end. They played the School of Rock song at the end. I think is really, really good. And it's just a really fun film to watch. I have nothing against it, really.
Okay.
Very quickly, the end credit scene is one of my favorites because as a musician, it's just like that's a fun thing to do, is to jam, and it's like, all right, well, you get a solo, cool, jam again, cool, you're getting a solo. Like that's incredible as a musician to do, and it encapsulates the fun of being a rock star.
Also, it's one of the things is like you turn to the side, you got a bass, cello. I think that's fantastic. I'm sorry. I felt so bad. I made a mistake on my list. I forgot somebody's 3 because I think it's hot garbage and it shouldn't even be close to this list. I think that's
We
why.
can move on. We can move on. It's okay.
But please go ahead, Caleb, real quick. Tell me why you think this god-awful movie deserves to be on the list.
When I was going for music films, I went through my list and I realized this has a lot of music in it, and it's part of that story. It's not the first Edgar Wright movie I would have put on if I knew. I could have put Baby Driver, but it is the close second.
Really?
We Are
Wow.
Sex Bomb. Scott Pilgrim versus the World is my number 3. It is really fun. It is a very different kind of movie. It is very different from anything else Edgar Wright's ever made, and that's why I love it. It's another one that I think it hits my age group super hard, especially my demographic of age group. Me and Cain adore this movie. It's so fun. It's got a really stacked cast with like Chris Evans and Brendan Routh and Brie Larson and Mai Whitman and Jason Schwartzman and Michael Cera, and of course the greatest of all time with Ramona Mary Elizabeth Winstead. So this is like a really great film. I really enjoy it. I go back to it all the time. It's so fun.
Yeah, awful. Go ahead. Real quick, guys. Don't want to spend a lot of time because we're running a little bit short on time. But Brooklyn, tell me why Scott Pilgrim missed.
I love this movie, but I don't really consider it a music movie. I consider it more of like a pop culture, sort of like a nostalgia, very reference heavy. But yeah, it's so weird because Cody hates this movie and I love it. But yeah,
I freaking think it's terrible.
Very
I watched
Canadian.
it. I watched it with 4 people from this community, and I hated all 4 at the end of this. So,
Wow.
Jake, why did miss?
I was gonna say, I like Scott Pilgrim. I definitely don't hate it. I think it's pretty fun. I just, as same with Brooklyn, I didn't think of it. I mean, all the credit to you, Koho, for going for it as a music, because it is. I just never thought of it because it's such a graphic novel adaptation, like pretty good adaptation of the graphic novel, and I think it captures like the visual style so well that I never think about the music. So all the credit to you for doing that. Yeah, I think it's fun, and some of the music's good. So yeah.
Please stop complimenting him. Okay, now it's weird, but Caleb, give us your 2. What you
My number 2 is probably about to get yiked by Brooklyn. That's Whiplash.
that's a yikes.
Okay.
Oh, this is kind of interesting.
Jake, give us your number 2.
This may be a yikes. We had a John Carney film already, and I'm going with his best one. I think it's amazing. Once.
Damn it, Jake! Damn it, Jake! Damn it, Jake!
That's not a yikes. Wow.
No.
Nope.
I'm destroying Koho today.
Oh.
That's
We're
right.
definitely show this list so hard. No, that's not on mine.
Okay, so I can talk about once.
Yep.
This is one that this was like the number one I had to see when I was making this list. I had not seen it, and I wanted to because I heard things about it. It was shot on shitty cameras, digital cameras from 2004. It stars real-life musicians in the leads. They don't have names in the movie, and it's about them just making an album. They're getting people off the streets to make this album, and I fucking love this movie. I didn't expect to love it as much as I did, and I thought it was amazing. From the music to the relationship between, I think they're just in the credits. They're just called man and girl, and so you don't need to know the names because you find out so much about them. Like she's with her mom, and he's with his dad, and they have their own lives, and they're just musicians, and they just want to make an album. And the whole falling slowly scene. Oh my god! The emotions are so fucking powerful. I love that scene, and I'm glad it won the original song Oscar. It's such an easy to relate to as just an artist, and I thought the filmmaking was just like genius. The decision behind everything they make, and the fact that the music's not perfect, it's not crisp, but the end of the last scene of the movie, the music's like fades into that nice, pristine quality, and you just get it, and it's brilliant. And I thought this movie was awesome. I love the songs, I love the characters. The musicians are great as the actors. It is absolutely brilliant. Thought this movie was amazing.
Fair enough. You guys, just real quick, why it missed?
Didn't see it.
Okay. This is a very film school film to me. It's very kind of experimental, carny. It's my least favorite of the 3 music films he's done for that reason, but I still love it. I think he's a genius at music films and everything that he does. He's really good at writing characters and like very human characters, and kind of putting them in that struggle and putting music into that world. Falling Slowly is gorgeous. It's just Miss Menace.
All right, time to talk about it. The only movie that all 3 people had on their list. Brooklyn, go ahead and start. Again, not paragraphs long, but let's talk about it. Just about your love for this film.
Let's talk about one of the greatest movies of the 2000s. That is Whiplash, directed by David Giselle, starring Miles Teller and J. Jonah Jameson. This is number 1 for me because it takes my two loves of music and cooking. And what J. Jonah Jameson brings in his character, it's a very, very European sort of like training moniker. I had a boss in a different job that had these similar character traits, but not as extreme. But I saw my boss in J. Jonah Jameson, and they get his like mannerisms right, and just that general mantra of the worst thing that you can say to somebody is good job. And it's just how they get to like the end where like they're playing Caravan and Miles like he respects him in the end. It's like it's so twisted, but it's right. It's so twisted, but it makes so much sense.
Fair enough. You guys, you all had it You all had it 1 spot separate. So Koho, you had it at 2. So tell us why.
J.K. Simmons deserved that Oscar the moment he steps on screen and walks in that room. He's like, "Did I tell you?" He goes, "Did I tell you to stop? Did I tell you to keep playing?" He's so good and twisted and manipulative. My favorite thing in the movie when I watched it specifically for this list, I'd never seen it. I still like La La Land a little bit more, but it's a great film. The scene when he comes to him on stage and he's like, "I know it was you who fucking ratted me out. You think I don't fucking know it was you who ratted me out?" I literally, my heart drops when that happens. But that ending, when he comes back out and he just shreds that drum kit. And they just have that moment of mutual respect for each other where he's like, "Okay, bring it down, bring it out, bring it up." It's great. They're phenomenal. They play off each other really well. It's really real gritty, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah. And Jake, you missed it 2 spots. So why the lowest on the list, I would say?
Yeah, I must be the bad guy in this situation. I had it the lowest, and it's in all of our top 3s. Yeah, this film's like just spectacular. I don't know what other words I can use. I'm just going to echo everyone. It's the intensity that Chazelle brings with the performances and the whole situation. It's genius. Like, I'm so happy that we get to see this in film. It's like if you put a drill sergeant and a perfectionist in the same room, but you're going to get magic. It's so brilliant. J.K. Simmons is absolutely outstanding. I think this is Miles Teller's 2nd best performance. I'll talk later about that one. But it's one where they're just like the editing, the shot composition, everything just moves the film forward. It's one of the few films I've felt like incredibly intense from watching, even after like repeat viewings. It's so amazing. I just get tense with like every scene with JK and Miles Teller, so it's just absolutely outstanding. And yeah, I don't know what else I can say. Perfect ending. One of the best endings I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
It's the 2nd best film, one of the best films of 2014, and my only flaw with the film is that it's not as good as Batman. But then again, what can you do about that?
Fair enough.
It's a fantastic film. Again, J.K. Simmons prepped for this role in the HBO series Oz. In the prison, he literally plays almost the exact same character. He's a psychopath, and he does a brilliant job. He finally got the credit he deserved with his Oscar. He's one of the harder, just does an amazing job. So I think Whiplash is fine in everybody's spot. I watched it. I think it's one of my favorite movies of that year. It just shows how stacked that year was in film. It's one of those great years. So we will go to Jake next. Jake, what is your number 1?
It's actually a yikes from later. I think we've already forgotten it. It was Brooklyn's number 10, and
Number 9.
we gathered here today to get through. Oh, number 9. We gathered here today to get through this thing called life, and that is one of my favorite artists. Purple Rain. It is, yeah. Oh my god. I love the Purple Rain album. It's probably my favorite album ever. Every song is amazing. And I had not seen Purple Rain until last year, when sometime in March I was like, really want to watch it. And yeah, it's what I love about biopics like this is that it's not even like a biopic. It's semi fantasy in the way that it's not really about Prince, but it's more like a more interesting way of telling his life, like his battle with Morris Day in the time, and then him meeting Apollonia. I don't even know how to pronounce her name, but their relationship and his abuse with his dad, and him trying to be a singer in Minneapolis. Is it Minneapolis? I can't remember. Minneapolis. I can't even pronounce. And yeah, I think the music's just like every song is like this emotional connection you have with Prince, and like, well, as his character's kid, and how it's just telling a story about his life and how he's feeling. Like when he sings about Darling Nikki, it's about Apollonia and how he hates her, and at that point he starts to become abusive like his dad, and then him trying to figure out what to do, and then he listens to his band The Revolution and playing Purple Rain at the end. It's just, oh my god, I think every song in the movie is 10 out of 10 amazing. That's my biggest problem with albums, is that there's always like that one or two songs that you're just not a fan of. Every song in the movie and the album is like amazing. I listen to it all the time. It's just absolutely fantastic. It's a great, interesting story about Prince, and the fact that Prince plays himself, I think that just proves that you can't do a Prince biopic, because you're never going to capture what Prince was. And I feel like he captures that in this film, and this is the best thing we're going to get to a biopic, and I want nothing less than that. It's absolutely fantastic, and I love every second about it. It's a love letter to one of my favorite artists, my favorite artist ever, and it's just spectacular.
Brooklyn had it pretty low on your list, but you still had it on your list, besides the person that is probably going to be kicked out of his state pretty soon. But let's talk about Brooklyn. Go ahead.
I purposely watched this movie because of Jake, because I knew it was going to be here somewhere. I was like, I got to watch this and see where it is. Oxford Dictionary defines charisma as Prince. Prince, like, he explodes charisma. Like, he's just a magnet. Like, you want to watch him the entire time. And I will rewatch this purely for him. But if they made this like a concert film and like just that, then this would rank higher. But I did not care for like the rest of it, like the abusive father thing, and I just found it very like stereotypically 80s. The music and the performances in it is great. I love Prince even more after watching this film, but it's just like it's the substance that they tried to go along with the performances that doesn't really attach to me as opposed to the songs. The Purple Rain, using it as a motif, is incredible. But yeah, that's about this.
So Caleb, why do you disgrace where you are from? Why do you not like A Little Red Corvette? Why do you not like The Reign of Purple?
There are two movies.
Were you not kissed enough when you were a child? Well, go ahead, tell me why you hate them.
There are two movies in the state of Minnesota that are a rite of passage for you to watch. When you turn about preteens, you're sat down, you watch Purple Rain. When you get to about 15, they sit you down, you watch Fargo, and you see how terrible your state actually is. But you gravitate to one of those two more than the other. They're very different films, but they kind of define your film-going tastes. I gravitate more to Fargo than Purple Rain in terms of that. I like that kind of story more. But Purple Rain is one of the best music films of all time. I can't be Minnesotan and not like Prince. So it's like 14 or 15 for me. That soundtrack and the album Purple Rain is perfect. It's the best thing he's ever made. Yeah, Prince is great, and he, like Brooklyn says, exudes charisma.
So just to let you know, doves are crying right now because you didn't have this on the list.
That's true.
All right.
The Vikings are on their way to beat me to death right now.
We will close with the worst choice on anybody's list so far since we have started this show.
That's not true. Heavyweights is
You
worse
are
than this.
tied with heavyweights now. Please go ahead and tell me why this is the number one film about music of all time.
This is my third favorite movie of all time. It's my second favorite movie from the year 2016. It takes multiple genres that I love and puts them together. It takes coming of age, it takes music, and it takes the tropey sort of like I am a teenager that starts a band story. It's Sing Street. Sing Street's my number one. I think it's my favorite John Carney film. It's the first John Carney film I ever saw, so I think that's why I gravitate to the more polished Carney than the more rough Carney that is in Once. But I love the story of this kid who is kind of in 1985 Dublin, who's kind of in poverty. His family's falling apart around him. Jack Rayner is phenomenal as his older brother, who's a deadbeat, never made it in music. And then to impress a girl, he meets a girl, boy starts band to impress girl, and then that band is actually really good. The songs that they write for this movie are really good and really impressive songs. Up is beautiful. Drive It Like You Stole It obviously is like the tempo of the movie. It's so fun. I like Brown Shoes a lot also. But overall, this is it's a feel-good movie. It's entertaining to the max. I can watch it at any time, over and over and over. But yeah, that's my number one.
I hate that decision. I hate the decision. I hate that decision. I don't like this movie. It was overhyped for me. It was. I didn't gravitate to anything in the movie. I think that's completely overrated. But that's your own opinion, Caleb. This is why I bring you on your show, because you define my show better than anybody else with your list sucking. Jake and Brooklyn, since you didn't have it on your list, will you keep it short, keep it concise, about 2 sentences why this movie did not make your list, pretty much?
I'll keep it to one sentence. Did not see it.
Oh my god!
Don't do it. Don't waste your time. Go ahead.
Watch it on Netflix.
Don't.
Please.
He's in Canada. That's not the thing. Jake.
I'll send it.
I said the exact same thing Brooklyn just said. I did not see it.
I will send it to both of you.
I had
saved
one night to watch 2 John Carney films, and I decided to choose once and begin again. Okay.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's probably the better one. Okay, guys. So thank you so much for being on. We're a little over on time. I don't know how over with the edit and stuff, but we will now break down your combined list of you guys. This is really interesting. Well, there's no. I will start at the bottom. Your number 10 is A Star Is Born.
Yeah.
Your number 9 is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Your number 8 is Almost Famous. Your 7 is School of Rock.
Okay.
Your 6 is Once.
Okay.
Your 5 is Sing Street.
That's
Gross. Your number 4 is Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah.
Your number 3 is Purple Rain.
Okay.
Your number 2 is Coco.
Wow.
Let's
Wow.
go. Let's go, Brooklyn.
Film of all time about music, Whiplash. And this list was not my tempo at all. But that's fine.
Wait, were we rushing or were we dragging?
We were definitely dragging.
I think we're
Definitely dragging.
So you do know the
So you do know the difference.
Fantastic. So thank you so much for joining us today for Your List Sucks. I will comment, if you comment on the video, I will reply back. We have some great ones coming up. But again, thank you so much for joining me. Jake, Brooklyn, Caleb, myself. Again, keep watching movies, enjoy them, and list them so I can tell you suck. Drive on safe.